The guests. Our chief guest for today, Mr. Arvind Goel, MD, Tata Autocomp. And Mr. Pradeep Bhargava, past president, MCCI. Thank you, sir. Skilling, reskilling, and upskilling has become the need of the hour, and even more so if we need to be job ready. What better way to deliberate over this important topic than to be present at this confluence of industry and academia? I now request Mr. Deepak Karandikar, President MCCI, to give the welcome address.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dignitaries on the dais. On behalf of MCCI, I would like to extend a warm welcome to Pradeep ji, past president of our chamber, independent director of persistent systems, and associated with many prominent companies, organizations, as well as educational institutions in India. An ex-IMA, that is how I would like to put it. I would also like to welcome Mr. Arvind Goel, MD of Tata Autocom Systems and member of MCCI's board. We have a lot of inputs coming in from him. He has been associated with many companies and organizations. To name a few, it is Tata Autocoms and Asal and things like that. We request both of them to address the inaugural session of MCCI's Edufest 2022. Taking into account their vast experience, deep connection with industry and educational institutions, and passion to contribute to the efforts of forging closer communication between industry and educational institutions. The buzzword today. Mr. Bhargava and Mr. Goel were the main architects of bringing the industry and academic institutions to develop a postgraduate course in EV segment, which electric vehicle, which was adopted by a few institutions to begin with and has now been integrated with many of the educational institutions in Pune. This is one of the good examples of industry and institutions coming together to develop curriculum and draw upon the industry experience to create manpower to meet the emerging needs of the industry. I just narrate a small, which Mr. Goel shared with us this morning. Their company advertised for engineers on electric vehicle projects. And it was a walk-in interview, and he says there are almost 3,500 candidates who have lined up for the interview. So look at the kind of brand that Tata's draw for the company. Let us give them a good... I would like to thank Mr. Bharat Agarwal, President of Vishwakarma University and Chairman of MCCI's Higher Education and Skill Development Committee for spearheading this program and our initiative of connecting with the industry and academia. I welcome Mr. Mahesh Atole, Vice Chairman of Deccan Education Society, Dr. Shikha Jain, Director IMDR, Office Bearers of AISSMS, and Dr. P.B. Mane, Principal of AISSMS, Institute of Information Technology, and other dignitaries here. These prominent educational institutions believed in our concept and have patronized this important event. Thank you all. I extend my warm greetings to all speakers who agreed to be amongst us on a Saturday, despite their business, personal, and social commitments. We have 6 different panel discussions, and about 18 companies are represented on these panels, which we have HR heads, CEOs, corporate leaders sharing their perspectives about industry expectations from educational institutions. I also welcome many of the directors and principals as well as faculty members of educational institutions and representatives of industry. The lead organizer for this event is MCCI's Higher Education and Skill Development Committee. It envisages to take initiatives that would help bridge the gap between the industry and academia. Those regular interactions, we identify the gaps in industry-academia relationships. I am happy that some of the industry participants at today's event have indicated their interest in establishing a close rapport with the institutions represented here. We would like to see more fruitful cooperation in the months to come. On a separate note, we are working with Rajiv Gandhi Science and Technology Commission to facilitate sharing of knowledge and encourage projects relevant for industry, academia, and research institutions. We had a day-long event on 7th of October 22, where prominent research and academic institutions made their presentations. The presentations and project proposals are available on MCCI's YouTube for all of you to view. The interactions of today's event are also being streamed on our YouTube channel, which will be available for all to view later as well. In line with the national priorities and industry requirements and objectives of the new national education policy, MCCI will make efforts to bring the industry and academia institutions together and try to support the initiatives of preparing the frameworks which lead to equipping the students with the skill sets required by the industry when they enter the job market. Many of our members from the industry and educational institutions are already making concerted efforts in this direction, but I believe that there is a lot that needs to be done. This needs closer cooperation between the industry and academia. I hope the Committee on Higher Education and Skill will pursue this idea. It is said that the only skill needed in the 21st century is to learn new skills. Everything else will fall in place. In this world of opportunities, possibilities, and challenges, the potential redundancy of certain job roles due to automation on the one hand and dearth of qualified and skilled workforce resulting in increasing vacancies on the other hand is a paradox. Redesigning skills for the jobs of tomorrow is therefore the need of the hour. Keeping this in mind, MCCI has organized this Edufest 22 to facilitate cooperation between students, academia, and various verticals of the industry. This event aims to create a win-win situation for all the stakeholders in the ecosystem by highlighting the importance of industry-academia collaboration to bridge the learning divide. The essence of this initiative is three-pronged approach: the conference, the project exhibition by students, and the training session by experts for the students on two important aspects of job readiness: resume building and interview skills. We are privileged to get an opportunity to listen to the expert opinion of dignitaries present here today, who come from various fields like automotive, engineering, IT, ITES, financial services, and other verticals of the industry. I welcome you all to this one-of-its-kind event and request you to make the most of this wonderful opportunity. Later in the day, we will also have the opportunity to listen to the Honorable Shri Chandrakant Dada Patil, our Guardian Minister, Minister for Higher and Technical Education, Maharashtra State. We hope to present the gist of today's deliberations to the Honorable Minister and make a few suggestions to the state government to facilitate closer industry-academia interface. I wish the deliberations of today's events all the success. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. I now invite Mr. Bharat Agarwal, Chairman, MCCI Higher Education Committee, to give his opening remarks.
Good morning to everyone. Honorable Mr. Bhargav, Arvindjit Goyal, Mr. Taranditar, all dignitaries, staff, students from various institutes, on behalf of MCCI's Higher Education and Skill Development Committee, I welcome all of you all to this Edufest, an important event which is one of the important activities of the chamber and of the committee to foster greater industry-institute interactions. Well, the industry-institute interaction, this term or this industry-academia interaction term, I am sure I myself have been witnessing this for the last 20 years, been spoken about on various platforms, in various forums, individually as well as in groups. We have come a long way, but I still believe whatever we have done, whatever we have spoken, it's only a matter of we need to do it more. And I welcome this initiative, and of course, I'm very happy to note the participation of people from academia and industry in today's program. While I represent institutes group called VIT based out of Pune, I also speak on behalf of other institutes over here, and especially addressing to the industry to start my talk. The landscape of education is something that has changed in the last 10 years. And here I again align my thoughts around industry-institute interactions and the need for us to collaborate more. About 10 years back, whenever there was a talk of this sort where industries used to come and talk about their requirements of institutes from students, the concern that the students who passing out of institutes are not employable and so on, don't have the requisite skill set, it was a very different scenario, it was a different landscape, because those times, about 10 years back, 15 years back, the institutes were too heavily governed by, I would say, the policies of the government. Especially their curriculum were governed and regulated by the universities, the admissions were governed, and there were so many restrictions. One landscape change that is happening in the last 10 years is that most of the institutes of Pune, Maharashtra, and of our country are now becoming autonomous. And this autonomy gives the institutes a lot of upper hand, a lot of freedom, a lot of authority to change curriculum, to change their pedagogy, to change their assessment systems that suits first the need of the students that join the institutes, and of course specifically the needs of the industry where the students will be further working than employed. I just request the industry over here, or my industry partners, peers over here, that while this landscape change has been happening, then more and more institutes I see are now applying the autonomy. They are getting the autonomy status from UGC and also implementing the autonomy status in their own institutes, in their own campuses. This is a bit shift. This is a bit change that is happening in this sector. It is now even more worthwhile than before that such interactions between industry and academia happen, because now we have the requisite power to adapt ourselves to the needs than ever before. Second important fact is, of course, apart from autonomy, you will see an upsurge of private and deemed universities in the country. We, of course, have seen in the last, I would say, 6 years, only in our state of Maharashtra, about 20 private universities been established. Apart from this, very recently, UGC has published its new policies for deemed universities. This new policy of deemed universities, again, is going to encourage and motivate a lot of standalone institutes to become deemed universities. The government of Maharashtra also is now implementing the policy of a concept called a unitary university. So very soon you will see a lot of standalone institutes, again, which somehow did not qualify for being the private university, or because of some reason did not qualify to become a deemed university, to get into a system called as a unitary university. Now what all this is shaping up is that the institutes on their own will have a lot of authority and freedom, which means that it is now apt for these meetings to happen more, because now if I am an institute, you are an industry folk, if you tell me something, I then do something about it. My hands are not as tied as they were before. So I believe now is the right time for all these engagements to even further up, to further boost this system where inputs are drawn from the industry for forming the curricula, for giving projects, for talking about what is the skill requirement within various sectors, and then training the students on those sectors. Second important landscape change is the students itself. And this again got boosted because of COVID. Students nowadays, of course, because of information technology, Googles, YouTubes of the world, have everything around them. They have all the information that generally a teacher would be teaching in a classroom on their mobile. This got enhanced during COVID times because anyways a teacher was also teaching online, and on online system there were other tools and mechanisms through which you can learn the same subject, maybe through a professor of a higher caliber, and many a times at their own pace at home. Now with this changing scenario where a student gets all the information knowledge at home on his mobile, on his computer, why is he required to come to the college or the college campus? Here we foresee that the students will now come to college campuses not for knowledge, but for application of that knowledge, which means that the requirement of the institutes would be to provide the right kind of exposure and experience to the students on campus. This again requires a lot of interaction with the industry, because where will the institutes get the experience from? I request the industry folks over here, my peers over here from the industry, that while we talk about upgradation of curricula, while we talk about the needs of various new skill sets that are required from students, it is also important that we provide some sort of experience and internships to these students, because that is their I would say, first-hand requirement nowadays. Last, before I end my talk, I think the system or the society of, means our society has evolved. Now, I also happen to run a small, medium-scale enterprise, a manufacturing unit, so I have some experience around it. If I used to talk about 15 years back, that the industry, I'm employing people, I want students, youth college, you don't have the right skill set to provide me these students. Let me also take a step back and admit that I was also a less evolved 15 years back than what I am today. As a society, as we are evolving, the manufacturing unit has evolved, the IT companies have evolved, the financial services domain has evolved, and so the academia has evolved. We have heard about a lot of good examples of how academia and industry have collaborated in Europe, in Germany, in the US. When we visit one of the exhibitions in Germany, we see that one of the main halls is taken up by institutes, not to demonstrate their courses, but to demonstrate their research projects. What this goes to show is that there was some sort of an early on engagement which built confidence of the academia that they can deliver research projects, or I would say they can build knowledge and deliver that knowledge to the industry. Now, when will this start? Now, this will start only if we again collaborate. For this, I am sure the academia today is ready to understand the problem statements and work on them, of course, of the industry. I only request industry colleagues over here to have that first, I would say, faith of confidence in the academia. We may not have proven a lot of things so far, but until and unless we are given an opportunity to prove, nothing will be ever proven. I just request over here that as a society, when we are evolving, let research and development become a focus area of the industry, helped by the academia. I always go on to say that for large corporations, Mr. Doyle represents the Tata Group, for them it is very comfortable as well as, I would say, a priority to invest in R&D. But for many SMEs like me, I don't have the deep pockets nor my priority to invest in R&D, because R&D is research and development, which other words means trial and error. Are we ready to face failure as an industry? So my margins don't allow me to face failure, because those deplete my margins. Can academia be the outsourced R&D center of SME industry? According to me, the answer is yes, if we take the first step. I request all of us over here, academia, to show this confidence, to demonstrate this confidence to industries that we can take up projects, we can take up problem statements, our faculty and our students are able to solve them. On the other hand, I request our industry colleagues to have this first little risk, a little, I would say, experiment on their side, and outsource some of their newer ideas to these young folks coming out of colleges to work on these problem statements. I have some experience that Mr. Tarantitar is over here. He had some experience when he worked with a few college students. The ideas are brilliant. They might be a bit vague, they might be a bit raw, but then the ideas are out of the box. So please start off with something, engage with a nearby college, engage with nearby institute, just throw them a problem statement. I somewhat feel that only by such mutual experimentation, confidence of industry on academia and academia on themselves, that they can deliver knowledge and generate knowledge, will grow up. All the best to all the participants of today's Edufest. I think this is a great initiative. A lot of panels are there which will again highlight the importance of the academia and industry gaps that are there, and I'm sure we'll all will learn through the course. learn through the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. It was delightful to see your confidence in academia and industry collaboration. Thank you so much. May I now request Mr. Pradeep Bhargava, past President MCCI, to deliver his address.
Thank you very much, Deepak, Bharat, Arvind, Prashant, and some of the very familiar faces I see. Thank you very much for being given the opportunity. I don't know if you people have noticed, and I'm talking like a chamber, in recent times, and Prashant, I address it to you and to Deepak today, the chamber has picked up, and I always sell chamber even if I'm selling it in chamber, has taken up proactively some of the issues which most people do on a reactive basis. Deepak talked about this EV course that we started some time back. It was way ahead. Prashant, I recall the work we did for International Trade Fair. Today it's become a big deal. We started with the manufacturing for defense. Atmanirbhar Bharat has become today. And if I keep looking at the number of things that have been picked up by chamber, and I want to compliment that this is really, really a very progressive. Edufest is again in the same category with the new education policy being considered, alliances between industry and academia being talked about, once again is a thing. As always, I want to start, because it gets very serious, I will start on a lighter vein, and in that sense. So Prashant, here's the case where Bharat and Deepak are setting the context. You know, we are discussing today the challenges of tomorrow. Somebody is setting the stage. Arvind will take us further. So in present, we are discussing the future. This में आप past क्यों लेके आ गए? I'm referring to the past president. Past को हिंदी में भूत बोलते हैं ना, भूतकाल. So why have you got this ghost like me here, who is really a past here? And you know, the other lighter thing is, you know, everybody has been given a title. When you don't know what a guy is going to talk about, you say special address. In government, you have a position called OSD, Officer on Special Duty. मुझे कहा, मुझे पता ही नहीं, माहिती माला क्या करता क्या है वो. तो here special address करके कुछ भी बोल जाओगे. So just purely the past in me, the special thing in me is like a bit of a disclaimer in the beginning. On a serious note, and I think Bharat and some of my colleagues here are aware, I've been in this space for a long time. My engagement with academia has been very, very strong. In fact, I always wanted to be in the academia, but never had the intellect to actually become a teacher and a professor. I just couldn't do it. I chose the relatively easier being a karmachari in corporates and management life. No, but seriously, I'm associated with Symbiosis on the various groups. I'm on the Academic Council of SPPU. I'm engaged with a lot of IIMs, including my own college. I had the joy and privilege of working with Cummins College when I worked for Cummins for a long time. I also had the opportunity of being the executive committee of NAC for a period when, you know, NAC, all these people don't like the word NAC here, but, you know, academia, we just have to live with NAC and NIRF and so on. I am on IQAC of buses and so on. So I'm totally reasonably familiar. As I said, have the opportunity to engage over the years. So I understand the dynamics. And so I'm going to just talk about, it's a tripartite. In labor laws, we talk about tripartite, the employer, employee, and the government. Here we have a tripartite. तीन लोग हैं. Industry है. I wish there were more from industry. Academia है. और एक matchmaker है, भट्ट है, बड़ा अच्छा मंगल कार्यालय है, called Maratha Chamber. Because sometimes to bring Var and Vadhu Paksh together, you need the Bhattji. So there are three of us stakeholders. There is industry, there is academia, and there is us, Maratha Chamber. And I'm just going to talk very briefly about what I feel can be done, and in the right spirit, in the positive, because this is. So first, Bharat, I'll take a cue from you. I'm talking about the industry, and here I'm going to go totally, partly because there are very few industry members, so I can bol sakta hu, and largely because I'm guilty. I, as industry, somebody who has been holding an industry visiting card for years together, I think there is something wrong in us. Bharat, you alluded to it very wonderfully, that we have been shy, and of course there are exceptions like Arvind and his organization who do much more. What do I mean by saying I'm guilty? I'm not even applying for bail because I'm guilty. And what is this guilt all about? Of course, you go to industry. Let's just understand very briefly how do industry do, and Sudip, so you deal with your colleagues, your finance manager, your purchase manager, etc. Pick up the main CEO. They're worried about one stakeholder called shareholder. Sometimes the shareholder आके MD भी बन जाता है, promoter है तो फिर सुनना पड़ता है. So there is one complete, we link and we connect, and we know what exactly we need to do. Pick up another big stakeholder called supplier. A lot of you have worked, and Arvind, all of us have worked. Look at the intimacy. Look at the amount of development, cultivation, engagement, identification, support, handholding we do with a vendor. My God, we do everything. We go to tooling costs, we help him with quality, we help him with testing, we help him with him or her with training. We do everything. किसको करते हैं? Vendor को करते हैं. क्यों करते हैं? Because I want ready to use plug and play type of a component. It is in services sector also. We spend a lot of time with our partners. We do everything because we believe that we need it, it should fit into our organization. Pick up our finance manager. They spend time with financial institution, banks, etc. Customize. Of course, we went backwards with financials, we do that. We do every single thing to make it applicable to us in terms of our things. Don't we do? We do a lot of customization with the fan. Pick up our channel partners, sales. We do every single thing, work with them, train them, get them to use our culture. We do all completely. Facilities, when we set up, we work with our facilities provider. IT system, we'll work with our IT system vendor like anything. We do this because we believe if there is a competence, I need to use that competence in that vendor, my partner, to my interest, to my needs. करते हैं ना? और बड़ी खुशी से करते हैं. This part of our job, we own it. We realize its importance, so we're there doing it every single day. Your purchase manager may not be in the factory, in the office all the time, so would be the finance. They're all out there. Now I'll come to him, bear with me. एक जो सबसे बड़ा resource है, which is called human resources, what do we do? Just mark the words. What are we saying? You know, आजकल के बच्चे, they're not in tune with our need. You know, we have to rework and retrain them so much. They know very little about what we do. We sit back, we criticize, we pontify, we belabor. ये ठीक नहीं आ रहा है. हम क्या कर रहे हैं? हम अपने ऑफिस में बैठते हैं और कहते हैं ये बंदे आने चाहिए. We don't do that. We don't go to a casting guy and say, unless I sit with you on tooling, I won't get the right casting. We don't go to a college. We don't want to sit on the board of studies. We don't want to go and give guest lectures. We don't want to get their faculty upgradation. Just the way you get your manufacturing manager for vendor come and spend time with you. You don't want any faculty from colleges, etc. to come and do. We don't want to give them joint projects that we want to do. Please, I know there are some of us who do it, but I'm saying by and large, we don't do any of those things. We don't take the step forward, and we sit and pontify. And you know what do we say? सरकार को कुछ करना चाहिए. अरे भैया, सरकार को BPO है. We have outsourced our responsibility to सरकार. Do we get to सरकार to get me a right vendor to give me the right component? We don't go to सरकार. We don't go to सरकार to get the right financial package. But education students जो बच्चे आने चाहिए, मेरी needs को होने चाहिए, सरकार should do it. Why should सरकार do it for you? We need to be doing it. So there is a complete apathy by and large. Again, qualify everything. By and large, there's an apathy among industry. They somehow have believed, come to believe, and there's some glorious exceptional. I mean, I talk about my own organization, Cummins, the way we have hand-holding Cummins College, the way Tata Motors is doing with this, and we're doing it in Fulton, and way Taco is doing it with some of the colleges. There are lots of great exceptions. Take that exception. By and large, the perception of the industry is, I need ready to use RTUs. They should come, but they should know what I need. You don't even want to go and tell them what you need. You don't even want to tell what you're working on 3 years later. And you want these children to come this. So I think there is something we need to do. Beginning is being made, and I think now I'll come to the thing. Bharat has beautifully said, at one point of time, we were constrained by our own UGC, and I mean, I can keep on naming the things which bind the educational institutions. But it's true, Bharat, ever since commercialization has taken place in education, in some way educational institutions are also trying to become a factory which produces large number of certified professionals. And what do? We count numbers, and what's the price of that product? Placement mein, ye average salary 40 lakh hai, 20 lakh hai. You know, those become our things, a lot of them. But today life has changed. So what do we want? You know, these educational institutions, I sit on the IQSC, I sit on various committees. Jaan nikal jati hai, because when you want to fill up NAC forms, you got to take care of parents, children feedback. You know, if you look at the question of NAC, you guys are doing a lot of work. You're extending yourself in every sense of the thing. I have great respect, as I said, I'm very deeply involved, etc. But there is some outreach you need to do to industry. There is some bit of proactive measures we need to do and say, go and tell the industry, yaar, main ye kar sakta hoon. Give me the project. Can have my 3 of your guys come and give a talk? Bully them, cajole them, charm them into coming onto your BOS, and so on. So you would be able to get. So I think there is a proactive gesture required from the thing. The point, Bharat, you made, you know, Tata Motors can work or a Cummins can work. We talked about how MSMEs are not equipped, but there are a large number of smaller education institutions. I mean, I don't see why the lovely engineering colleges in Kolhapur and the large number of industry in Kolhapur, why can't they work together? Everything, COEP doesn't need a publicity. IITs don't need a publicity. But a lot of colleges are there, and that's why it's a Tata Motors and Cummins don't need support. There are medium-sized enterprises, and they are next level. They can work together and get this thing. So I think we need to continuously get into this mode of reaching out to each other. And finally, and I think in the educational institution, if I can take the liberty, it's just not industry. We are one of your customers. I wish you have somebody from PMC coming and giving a talk to the children. What are the challenges with waste management? What are the challenges with traffic management? What are the challenges with transport, mobility? Get Sassoon Hospital people come and talk about what are the challenges. I'm saying these are the civic society members who are output of educational institution is not only going to academia, it's also going. So there are other stakeholders which I think academic institutions should look. I mean, even I would say every single opportunity you do. The last thing for the Bhajis, for us, for the Mangal Karyalay, I think we need to, we will continue to, and I'm speaking as a chamber person, engage in this platform where we'll bring the two together. अच्छा पर भट्टी भी क्या करता है? वो मिला देता है, उसके बाद he doesn't, thank God, he doesn't assure the continued happiness. वो तो कोई भी assure नहीं कर सकता है. It's only a calculational thing. So this Bhaji can do the sambandh एक बार करके, and after that you need to do. And really speaking, we will continue to, we should continue to do, once again, as I said, not only for the boys, but for the, not only for the men, for the boys, sorry, not only for the ladies, but also for the girls. We will continue to do this, and that's our responsibility, we will do. So just to conclude then, and picking up largely from Bharat and what Deepak has said, we both need each other. Industry and academia need each other. We are complementary, not competing. We both need to take a step forward. इसमें कोई ego नहीं है, इसमें कुछ नहीं. It's of a mutual interest we need to do. And you know, industry needs to bring academia in their line of sight. Just the way the purchase manager, the finance manager, the facilities manager knows who he's looking at. The HR managers, Sudeep, I dare say you do it, but I know a lot of HR managers don't consider this. In-house training, they focus a lot. Career development, OD, all that stuff we do. Succession planning भी करते हैं, पर उस सक्सेस करने के लिए कहाँ से माल आ रहा है, वो वेंडर वैलिडेशन के ऊपर वेंडर अपग्रेडेशन करना चाहिए. And I think we just, for heaven's sake, let's not count on government to do it. Government will bring out some circulars, some norms which will only further strangle it. It is for us, it's a bilateral pact. Do you want government to govern? Do we want regulators to regulate us in this relationship? Certainly not. I think we're matured enough to do it. आत्मनिर्भरता इंडस्ट्री की नहीं, एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन को भी आत्मनिर्भर होना है. How do you become आत्मनिर्भर unless you are taking care of where your products are going, where your research funding is coming. So times have changed. Shelf life has come down of everything. Shelf life has come down not only for our product, but our structure. Bharat, you talked about the new things, flexibility that is coming. We need to be flexible, we need to be open, we need to take step forward. I wish this forum great success, and I do believe that places like us and Maratha Chamber will continue to doing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We are honored to have Mr. Arvind Goel, MD Tata Autocom Systems Limited, as our chief guest today. I now request Mr. Goel to address the audience.
Good morning, everyone. It was pleasure listening to Mr. Pradeep Bhargav, Mr. Karandikar, and Bharat Agarwal. They have not only set the contest so high, they have already said whatever was supposed to be said. So it's not so easy for me to take it up from there. But as India is one of the youngest countries on the age bracket, and the speed at which this country will grow, and the world is looking at India for a massive growth. And 2045, say another 25 years from now, there are different people giving different numbers of the GDP. So, the politicians may talk about $50 trillion to $40 trillion, but with any simple calculation, the Indian GDP can certainly grow beyond $30 trillion by 2047. And world is looking at us because they also want to shift a lot of manufacturing away from China. And if they have to come to India, where ease of doing business is not as easy, but it is improving. So it's very important that we have the right set of skills which will make our country far more attractive for very large investments to come into India. I think it's a golden opportunity for the country, and it's on the industry, the academia, jointly, how to navigate this so that over the period of time, we truly become the world's third largest economy by 2040, 2045. The Indian industry has not been investing much into R&D, including the government-owned industries and the private industry all put together. And that is one of the major reasons why the industry-academia interaction always becomes much less. If we have to grow to say 30, 40, whatever trillion economy, the first and fundamental is to invest into your research and development in the company. As soon as you start investing into research and development, you need far more interaction with academia because it becomes your need. Today, if some companies are doing, they may be doing as part of their duty. In the end, unless there is a need, it does not work. As Mr. Pradeep Bhargav mentioned about Tata Motors did because Mr. Tata always believed that Indian engineers can produce cars. Indian engineers can develop a car. Everything else is done multinationally. And he said that if we don't produce, automobile engineering will go away from India forever. So Maruti or Hyundai or Ford, General Motors, whoever come here, they don't develop their products here. Some engineering is being done now. So therefore, more and more engineering has to be done in India. And I would say the needle has started moving. The direction of doing engineering is clear to all the leaders in the industry. It all depends upon at what pace you want to take the needle ahead. So opportunities are huge, and it's, I would say, on the industry and academia jointly, as Mr. Bharat Agarwal mentioned, to navigate it forward. Certainly, most of the industries, including our companies, you ask anybody, they would first go to MIT, then they will go to UK, or now they go to Germany quite a bit, to Aachen University or Fraunhofer universities, because those universities have structured how to deal with industry. And that structuring also needs to happen. Then only the industry and this can work together. I'll tell you, in Israel, I'd been almost 10 years back. If you want to give a project to a university, you have a waiting period of 3 to 4 years. The academia decides whether your project is attractive enough to be given to my students, and if it is attractive enough, you have a waiting period for 3 years. Because that's how the universities are fully booked. And those universities, actually students earn money during their college time far more than the amount they pay as fees. Because that's how Israel is the only country where the top universities are fully booked for any projects you want to give. So we and Tatas have a huge engagement with Israel as such, and a lot of funding has been done. In spite of that, you need 2-3 years before your project can get into the university to do work on. So I would certainly say that both industry and academia, depending upon every city, let's not look at only large colleges, because we are doing certainly some projects with IIT Chennai and IIT Bombay, but there are enough good colleges in India, including VIT, where my kids also studied, and colleges in Pune, many colleges are there, where you can actually engage and do a lot of engineering projects together. Mr. Bhargav mentioned that we should not talk about past as a word, but I would say it's very, very important. If you look at the Indian mythology, even the kings used to send their children to be trained at the gurus in the ashram. Then they used to give a specific training. If you are a warrior, you are not being taught medicine, you have been taught how to fight. So there was no general management concept. And over the period of time, we lost that link with the teachers to that extent, except in the medical field where you are resident and you work under a doctor, so you learn over a period of time. But ultimately, if the mass employment has to be done, see, if every person in India needs to have an employment, you have to grow the economy at the pace which I mentioned. If the Indian economy doesn't grow, there can be civil war within next 7-8 years, because people will not have jobs. So it's both from society point of view itself, the growth of the country has to happen. There is no choice. It's not whether you have a BJP government or any other government. The country has to grow. There may be 1% up and down with a better governance. And because of that, a lot of projects needs to be done jointly, and the opportunities are huge for both industry and academia. That's what I would like to say. I had a small presentation, but I don't think it's so relevant, but I can just run it through. So, you know, if you look at, I'm not trying to be negative of current industry and academia challenge. So, you know, you can read it through, but what I want to really say, we need to find the right fit. You know, if there are no challenges in life, then we don't have to do, we don't need top managements. So there are challenges everywhere. And what I like to say, it's not as easy as we think when you want to work with the academia, because we are not structured. But that doesn't mean we cannot get structured. So I would say that we can jointly work on this. And if you look at industry, academia, expectations should be very clear. You know, what is the expectation of industry? What is the expectation of academia? The academia wants to have, you know, first they all want that all their students should get good employment or good placements. And they say if the IIT guys can get 30-40 lakhs as a salary, why not from our institutes? Because not good engineering work is being done in India. All the IITs go to MBAs and do all management. They are not, 90% of that are not doing engineering. So I actually wonder why they are doing engineering at all. Because if you want to do only management, you can be taken into a different channel from college itself. Nevertheless, the brightest guys are going to IIT. So academia and the institutes do work, but most of them are going to the management side. So the hardcore engineering work, according to me, would be done by institutes, the private institutes, from the students from colleges like VIT, MIT, COPs, from Pune, and there are so many colleges in Kolhapur, Shorapur. So their expectation is to get good employment or for their students. And industry, what they want research to be done. They want people, when they come to their jobs, they are able to use them straight away. So I think what I've just said is, you know, if the industry operates like we work in offices as a CEO, and the institute work as a CTO, the Chief Technical Officer, and they work together, and how a CEO and CTO work in an organization very closely with each other, if the same way industry and institute work, I think there would be a lot of opportunities which will come together. Efficiency and effectiveness has to be always seen. You know, there are so many topics which I just mentioned here. For want of time, I don't want to explain all this. But so much opportunity is there, but always keep measuring the efficiency and effectiveness. And I've not added the latest topic is for ESG. It is not just a word for the boardrooms. It is becoming a reality, the way environment. I would say, if you now go to US, the topmost salary paid people are people who have studied environment. This was not a topic which people in India ever knew, that you should go and study how to handle environment as such. So they are the highest paid today in United States after artificial intelligence. So I'm just writing what is the advantages of partnership. Certainly human capital, education edge, better reputation, intellectual property. So all this, if we develop in India, I think it will be a huge benefit. So just to give you a simple example, in China, most of the cars were either from US or from Europe, and few from Japan, and later not much Korean cars are there. China as a nation thought to start the R&D activity on IC engine is too late for them. So why don't we work on electric vehicle? So they started working on electric vehicle 15 years back. Now if we have to talk about electric vehicle, everybody goes to China for things. Leave aside one example of Tesla, but everybody else, whether it's a European company or an American company, they all go to China, but that's the place where all the R&D activities happen. And that's why they have now started taking the leadership position in electric vehicle, and now they have started working on hydrogen. They are very clear they want to take a leadership position there as well. So this is how the intellectual properties got created with the help of institute. And I don't want to run through some large collaborations or some examples. I can just leave it with the MCCI. They can share with you because of want of time. And just go to the, so I just wanted to say, whenever you do a partnership, please focus on results. Many times, even in IITs, I have seen, they get very excited, they take a project, and then neither the professor, neither the students are focused. And for an industry, few lakhs does not really make a difference. For a large industry, they pay, but in the end, if the results are not there, the excitement to the engineers who are working also goes away. And also, when you commit a project on a timeline, be very, very prepared yourself how much hours the students are going to put, how much hours the teachers are going to put, and then give them a timeline. Don't be very optimistic and then fail them, and neither be pessimistic. Arriving a right timeline for your project on a realistic manner is very important. And once you do this, I think the scale will automatically happen. So this is just what I want to do. You should take a task force as a committee, requirement assessment you should do. Don't take a project if you think you are not able to do. There will many projects will come in. India has a growth story which is coming in. Industry will automatically come to academia. Be selective on what you want to do. Even your students, before a project, what sort of projects you want to do, you can start doing a benchmarking. The academia themselves can decide on what areas they want to do a benchmarking, and be ready when the projects come into, and then do a dedicated team you should make. This already, Mr. Bhargav already mentioned the PG diploma course of electric mobility, which was started first by COP, and few other colleges have now aligned to it. It was spearheaded through Maratha Chamber, and a lot of industry had participated in developing these courses. And I think most of the students are placed much before. It's like as soon as they get admission, they are placed. They are not waiting for their one-year course to get completed. So the course objective was very, very clear. I think it was far more for what industry needed at that point of time. Industry also is graduating, and I think it's a time for a major modification in that course. Maybe Prashant, we can do that in the coming years. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. I now request Ms. Geeta Hosmane to propose the vote of thanks.
I feel honored and privileged to have gotten this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks on this special occasion. On behalf of Maratha Chambers and myself, I thank Mr. Arvind Goel, MD, Tata Autocom Systems, for his informative presentation. Our own past president, Mr. Pradeep Bhargava, a well-wisher of MCCI, the Bhadji, whom we can't thank enough for all his help, our president, Mr. Deepak Karandikar, and the Education Committee Chair, Mr. Bharat Agarwal. Thank you. I now request all of you to come and stand here for a picture, sir, for a photograph. I request DG to please, I request Prashant Girbane to come on the stage, please, for a photograph. Yes, sir.
I request the audience to remain seated for the first panel discussion of the day. The first panel is of HR professionals across various sectors. We begin with the HR managers from the automotive sector. I think a couple of them are out visiting the Expo. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes till they come back. Thank you. I invite Mr. Sudipta Marjit, Tata Autocom Systems Limited, to please come on the dais. Mr. Kishore Kenche, Brembo Bakes, India Private Limited. Mr. Nitin Asalkar, Willow Mather. And Mr. Sitaram Kandi from Tata Motors Limited. I request Mr. Prashant Girbane, DG MCCI, to moderate the session, please. While the session is on, we will display a WhatsApp number on the screen. Please send your questions to the WhatsApp number. The answers will be provided later. Thank you.
Thank you, Anugha. And I thank all the panelists who have gathered here. So I'll just share the format with you of the discussion. The format of the day is in the morning you'll have a bit of an inspirational session. In the evening we'll have another one. And in between we'll talk about the details, nuts and bolts of it. The whole conference is around only one question. So I'll put the question right up front so that each one of you could respond to that. I have a terrible job of continuously looking at the watch and interrupting. But I think I don't wish that job for anyone else. But now that I got it, I'll do that. The question is this. What is it that you're getting at this moment as the talent from academic institutions of various kinds at various levels? So the as-is situation. What is the to-be situation in your opinion? I'm not talking about can-be situation in distant past that will happen, but in the next few years, what can happen here and now? Or some of the best case studies that you'd have of how academic institutions are responding to you that everybody else can replicate. And what's your outlook in terms of recruitment over a foreseeable future of 12 to 18 months? The whole idea is about next couple of years discussion. The macro pitch of what would happen 10 years later when you would become $10 trillion economy, that we would leave it for morning and evening. We'll get down to what would happen in the next couple of years. That's what each of the panel discussions should do. So I'll shut up now, and each one of you, there are all of 180 to 200 seconds for each one of you, all yours. Thank you.
Prashant, you made it, me go back to the school days of debate. You know, we have this much time to speak. But I think that's enough because it just takes 2 minutes to the situation. I'll just limit myself to automotive because this forum is for automotive. You know, automotive is today is nothing about the future. The way we are making cars and the way people are going to use cars or two-wheelers, with the EV revolution, everything has changed. So in 100 years, you never had a situation where the way you make cars and the way you use cars both changed at the same time. So what is happening is only the focus in this forum for that is that, you know, the skills which is required, that, you know, usually when you look in automotive, when we used to go to campus, Tata Motors or Tata Autocomp or any of the companies, you would only look at mechanical engineers and things like that, maybe a bit of production engineers and things like that, some metallurgists. But now first we look at electronics, we look at mechatronics, we look at AI and stuff like that. So the kind of skills which is required, the kind of talent which is required is very different. different. The kind of, we need to get a lot of talent which was otherwise migrating to maybe information technology and even to chemicals, because battery is all about chemical engineering. So what I think what has happened is there's huge growth, and the kind of talent which was demarcated for automotive specifically, because that's what I represent today, is completely blurred. You look at multiple kind of things. And the other thing is also, I think what Mr. Goel was talking about and Mr. Bhargav was also talking about is we need to actually retrain and reskill our own employees. And that's a huge space which, if you have developed a competency to do all the things which I was saying before, your market is not about, you don't need to focus only about young talent who is coming out of class 12. You can actually look at all our employees, which would be, lakhs and lakhs in number in the industry, where we all need to, because most of us belong to industries. I can see the people, my colleagues on the stage today, my co-speakers, we don't believe in, okay, this skill is gone, so let's get rid of them and let's hire new. We have to reskill, we have to make our employees more empowered in terms of the new technology. So I think it's not about 10 years ahead or on. This is the time for us to work together, because huge opportunity on both sides. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll just ask another quick question to you. And I'll be requesting that each one of you, when you speak, please give a one-liner or two-liner very quickly about what your firm does, so that others appreciate, while we are well aware and very good brands that each one of you represent, right? What is it that your outlook over the next 12 to 18 months, Sudipta, in terms of the recruitment? Is it going up? Is it staying the same? Is it declining?
Okay, sorry I didn't introduce. I'm Sudipto. I represent a human resource and strategy for a company called Tata Autocom Systems, which is a $2 billion company headquartered in Pune. And we have operations in China, India, Mexico, Poland, Sweden, Brazil, and USA, mostly into automotive components. So I think, Prashant, the answer is just to give you our idea that in terms of the campus recruitment, if I may say that last year, we grew our campus recruitment by around 79%. This year, we are I was talking with Mr. Bharat Agarwal, because half of his batch I recruited already. So it is almost 3 times manifold in terms of the recruitment which you're doing this year. And that's the kind of projections I have in my manpower plan in the next 3 years.
Thank you so much. Any one of you, because each.
Yeah, hello. Good morning. Myself is Kishore Kenche. I represent Brembo Brake India. Okay, not very known to everybody, because this is we are into very niche product when it comes to high-end braking systems. Okay, be it BL Lamborghini, Ferrari, all Formula 1 cars, and top-end two-wheelers car. Okay, be it Harley Davidson or KTM or Ducati. So here, very categorically asked by Prashantji, and it's very relates to current scenario, because we cannot look forward for 5 years plan or so. As on today, the way market is changing is completely different. What we 1 year back we planned for 4 years, it's absolutely just in 3 months we reached. So it is absolutely unpredictable what to think for more than 1 year. So very categorically, I'll ask you what we are looking for. To be very frank, we are looking at very set up people. Okay, saying is very easy. Okay, we wanted to leave high leadership, high professionalism, high communicated people we wanted, to be very frank. And those are, understand the business, understand the processes. Okay, so it is a very high expectation, I also know it. But we very well, we are already, kind of in search to have a association or cooperation with various universities, be it technological, be it processes. We are ready to do it. We know that when it comes to technology or processes, our own processes are very different. We have very different processes. We have very different technology we are using from country to country. So it is very difficult to find out in one institute or one university. So it's absolutely need to have a cooperation or collaboration. And to tell you very frankly, we have a separate wing, university relation mapping. So that is also coming to India. And yesterday only my CHRO was here, and we visited COEP, Vishwakarma Institute of Technology. He spent complete 1 day for having a university relation mapping. Because 2 years down the line, as mentioned, Okay, we have R&D center is going to come here in India, not in Japan. Already we have started one R&D center in Silicon Valley. Okay, and wherein they found out, I mean, a lot of Indians, okay, from so many institutes. So he was very fond of it, and he said, I mean, not only for India, but we have open for all locations. So okay, world is so okay open. So what I am trying to say you here is, I mean, that we have a lot of expectations, but we cannot keep and blaming institutes. We have to have a bridge, and this is, I think, the right bridge on which platform we are sitting around. So thank you so much.
Many, many thanks. Just a quick reminder to everyone, those who would have any question to ask to the panel, there is a WhatsApp number that's shared. Just WhatsApp your question. We'll make sure that we'll take it up. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Good morning, all. I'm Nitin Asalkar, and I represent Willow Mathran plant. We are into pumps manufacturing. And to answer your question in maybe one or two lines, the hiring is increasing, and because we are increasing our manpower by almost 12 to 15%, and then there is a lot of attrition also. So in fact, my first task was to increase my talent acquisition team, because that's the pressure we have, and plus with the industry, with the academia, I think I'm also looking for reskilling my employees, because most of the employees are there for working for last 20, 25 years, and the skill what they learn in that time is not at all relevant right now. So, at one end we are recruiting fresh employees also, and at the second end we are also trying to reskill or upskill the present workforce. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello. Yeah. Good morning. So every stage brings new opportunities. On my right, Sudipto, old friend, and I am his customer. So whatever Sudipto produces, we buy. And on my left, old memory, I did my summer intern in Matharan plant. So I will not tell which year, you will guess my age. So I'll skip that part. I take care of HR for passenger and electric vehicle business in Tata Motors. Coming to talent, I think I have a different perspective. I'll answer your question whether we are increasing or not. Just to let you know, all of this panel will agree to me. Last week, a senior leadership team went to campus. My leadership team went to campus in one of the most famous institutes. 3 people went, and they came back. I asked, how was the campus? They said, we shortlisted 2. I said, what rubbish? 3 people, flight ticket, going there, interviewing 50 people and coming back with 2 selects. They said, we couldn't find the match for our culture. So technology probably is changing so fast. I agree totally. Once upon a time, we used to talk long-term strategy. Today, 6 months is a long-term strategy. Trust me. The technology is changing so fast. As far as the capability, once upon a time, we used to sell car. And we used to make money out of selling car. It is no more selling car. It is software on wheels. So more than the product, it is the software, the data, the informatic. That's where is the money coming. So 2 skills and 2 capabilities we definitely look. One, do the students have the ability to think innovative, bring innovative, data analytics, making money out of data? Do they come with that mindset? But more than that, do the students have the ability to learn new skills? Because whatever we hire is going to be outdated in 3 to 6 months. So they have to retrain. I think everybody spoke that we also have a challenge of reskilling our existing workforce. I don't think company has such margins to invest so much in reskill unless the students have the ability, capability to learn on their own. Like when you buy a new mobile, you don't wait for the mobile company to come and do a classroom training, right? You immediately go to the YouTube and say 10 minutes video, उसमें से भी 3 minute कौन सा video है? We'll see that video and learn how to download or how to operate. I think this is one skill we definitely look. Do the students have the ability to learn? So your second question, are we increasing? We are increasing multi-folds. We have started a new company for EV this year. We have just started. We are ramping up in tens and hundreds, but struggling. I keep telling, yesterday also in one forum, I was telling that we are a 1.4 billion population, but finding one trainee engineer is a mammoth task for a HR team. I still find it, so many engineering colleges, so many students passing out, but they're not fit for the industry. So like the students whom we take, once the orientation is complete, when we ask them, where do you want to work? Invariably 99% of them write design, engineering. There are various other departments in the manufacturing setup. Students don't even know that there is a supply chain, there is manufacturing, there is PPC, there is sourcing. Absolutely, for all students, the only department which exists is design and engineering. 6 months down the line, they feel very uncomfortable and then they start searching out for a job. So if something which is more important for us today is adaptability, managing the ambiguity, and really understanding the business. I think these are the 3 skills we look, apart from the core skills, anyway they pass out. So we look for what Sito said, electric, electronics, mechatronics, data, AI. So these are the hot skills, sustainability. So these are some of the very, very hot skills, niche, which we're finding difficult to find the talent.
Thank you so much. This was brilliant. Couple of questions that we got on the WhatsApp. Can I take those? Thank you. So one of those possibly it's coming from either somebody who is a placement officer in the institute or student. What are the top 3 things, and I'm reading that question as is, top 3 things you look for in fresher while hiring? Is it skill or will? And it may not be objective answer, whichever way you would like to respond. Please take, 2 of you could take that. That's okay.
See, at least I can talk about myself. I'll leave the others to talk. We go to an institute which has some reputation. So that institute already does so many filters. You take their 10th standard marks, you take their 12th standard marks, then there is an entrance, you do your interviews. We assume that they already have the capability or technical requirement before they come to the institute. And they also pass semester after semester. And they complete 7th semester when we do the interview or 6th semester when we do interview. There is very little really to go and check whether they have the technical capability or not, because you have done all that. What we are not measuring and what we are not teaching and what we actually look is the softer part, right? Is a commitment, understanding of the business, understanding of the reality, right? First thing, I keep telling, I don't know what time your college starts and ends, right? Maybe the college starts at 9 in the morning and end at 1 or 2. If you want to make the students industry ready, please start your classes in the second shift. Please make students understand how the second shift looks like. The minute I put them in the second shift, they run away. That's not how the industry works. If you want to make them prepare for second shift, please put them in second shift. Let them know how it means going home at 12 in the night or working in the night shift, coming at 12 and going at 7 in the morning. Probably that's the big miss we are finding. We bring the students with great difficulty. Students live for simple things. We don't want to work on Saturday. Your canteen food is not good. Forget about the job content. I think we are looking for these basic things. If the institute is able to bridge and make the reality, a lot of students would stay back. Teaching, coaching, I think industry can invest and bring it up.
Thank you. I think it's very important. Many of you who are working in the academic institutions ask this question. कि gap है, पता है, हमें क्या करना है exactly? So you got some of those specific answers, हमें क्या करना है? I think you also need to work on attitude changes that are required in the students apart from imparting the knowledge part of it. Right? Very critical, I guess. So
I just add one thing. Faculties are bridges between the students and the institutes. whenever I go to the campus, the first thing I ask the college, how many of your faculty have seen the company? And how many of your faculty have worked in the company? Many of the time they say, we have gone for industrial visit. Going for industrial visit is not working in the company. I can offer, if any of the faculty is ready to do an internship for 6 months, faculty, not students, we'll offer. Then they actually see how the company works and they can go back and talk. This is the reality in the company, right? So if faculties have an experience, they can every day talk how the industry works.
Very nice. Thank you so much. You wanted to comment, add to that?
Thank you. I think this is a very interesting question, and it's very important for all the HR fraternities as well as the institutionals, because the tendency is changing like more than technology. Okay, the student tendency I'm saying. Okay, I will not go into detail why this is changing and all, because last generation was working for basic needs, and now they have all and they are looking something else. Okay, job satisfaction and all. So it is very important, as you mentioned, very typical question is whether you look for skill or will. I will say it is a will. Because skill anyway, I mean, it has been done some part of by institution, some part we will do it. Because it is not, okay, that is up to us. I mean, we can definitely do it, but when there is a will, is very important. Why I am saying is that we have, every organization have different culture, whether this guy is right suit for me, whether he is willing to change, he is flexible enough. Most importantly, what is he looking for? His attitude is correct or not? That's most important. Because I know that, I mean, we can, everything is, you can change it. As mentioned by Sitaram, skill is by anyway, put up some, some test and you will get it, how skilled this guy is. Very easy nowadays. So will is very important, and it is a joint, effort. I mean, that all institutes, I'll go back to again institutes and say that don't pump in more, because they have become some degree means, even I mean those days in 92, 91, I am saying, Dr. Rao, A.B. Rao said, I mean, if you, unless you get a 3 lakhs per annum, you don't join. And we didn't get any job. So, so please make them on reality, put them on reality part. And I have one very good program, LIFT, Leadership for International Fast Tracker. And it's very difficult to find one guy, at that level. What we are, planning for and what student is expecting. So there's a huge gap.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. What I'm going to do is I'm looking at time and I'm going to request both Nitin and Sudipta if there is anything that they would like to add to the following question. The question is, all of these academic institutions that are sitting here, they would want to know what is it that they can do now, what is it that they should do now, in addition to what's already said, or if you'd like to reiterate one of those. So we'll take a couple of liners from both Nitin or Sudipta, and then we will conclude the session. Working? Yeah. I think that was yeah, it's on.
Yeah. I think as Sitaram has said, that make student visit industry or the internship program, if it is of a longer duration, I think that will also help for the student and industry. And I actually like his idea of faculty doing the internship, because I think that will make a lot of impact when the faculty goes back and taught the subjects. Thank you.
Sitaram is a good friend, so always it's nice to differ and contradict. So if you ask me now, there are two things which I look for. Suppose we are hiring someone from any field, mechanical, mechatronics. The fundamentals should be superb. That's the ticket to play, and that is very important. Because what I'm saying is, usually you have in an established factory or a manufacturing unit or anywhere, things are operating in equilibrium. Things are happening. You need this kind of talent to do two things. One is, if there's a disequilibrium, can they solve problems? That's very, very important, and that comes from fundamental good academic caliber. And can they innovate? Otherwise there's no point getting this kind of talent. And the second thing which I have a very different perspective is, in a company like mine, there are 5 generations working, So the issue is which generation is working, which is the stable days. Do we want these youngsters to come and work in a generation which we are used to? I have a completely different approach. I think we have to also create an environment because we are living in their times. Just because we are in a different generation, because we are seniors in the company, we should not create an environment that they have to adapt to our generation. So that I don't believe in, but it's our job to create an ecosystem where they think, hey, this is almost like campus culture where I can innovate and do stuff. But the fundamental has to be very strong because we are looking at them to solve problems, to innovate and take the organization in future.
Thank you so much. The objective of this session was also to demonstrate what 20 minutes can produce, right? And 20 minutes can produce so much of substance. And there is a commitment to many of you academicians that many of them are prepared to engage. The breaks are meant for that, breaks. There will be a break again around 1:15 lunch break, where you'll be able to connect with each other and take this forward, right? So I'll hand it over to my colleague Anagha to take it forward.
Thank you. May I now request DG sir to felicitate the guests.
Please come. We'll stand for photograph. The photographer, if he's here, or at least for the videograph, right? Stand here for the videograph for them to take one of those shots in the video itself. Thank you. Many thanks. Thank you. Thank you so much. Brilliant.
We now move on to the IT and ITES sector. I call upon Mr. Manish Ahir from Infosys BPM on stage. Mr. Rajesh Singh, KPIT Technologies Limited. And Mr. Rishikesh Dhande, Tata Consultancy Services. I hand over the session to DG sir.
I think it's working. Okay. This would release one more mic if you keep on the other side. Thank you. I think we'll keep the same format. The objective is I'll get my colleagues to make sure that at the back end of it, we would have a bit of lesser noise so that we would get starting with the session. I'll give it a minute or two so that we'll reduce the noise at the far end, then we'll start the session. It's always a good idea to respect the time and bandwidth of all the people in the audience, because the sessions happen for the people in the audience, and it's important that they're able to hear it appropriately. So I'll get my colleagues to make sure that there is no noise at the far end. Thank you. All right, we'll get going. Once again, the question is the same. The whole objective of this session is for the academic institutions to understand what is it that they can do to increase the employability of the candidates that graduate from their portals, and if there is any opportunity for them also to work with all of you in reskilling some of your employees and how they can do it. As you all understand, we started with a session on auto industry, because auto is the most prominent industry that we have in and around Pune. But also IT is the other prominent industry that we have that employs as many people, and hence the panel with the IT. I'm just going to hand it over to you, and like each one of you could talk about it. I'll get in the listen mode. Thank you.
Yeah, so even in IT industry, we basically look, the domain skills. I mean, we typically hire engineers of all disciplines. I mean, TCS is a company, it's a consultancy company, so we hire engineers of all disciplines, and we basically look for their domain skills. I mean, nowadays, most of the students, just want to go for CS or IT, but they should realize that we hire mechanical engineers for their mechanical domain knowledge. I mean, even though car has a microprocessor in it, but it also definitely has gears and other mechanical accessories also. So that's the first thing. Second thing, we realize that students are not flexible. I mean, typically trainee engineers come to us and they plead that they want to work in Java development. I mean, as if Java is their mother tongue. I mean, Java is an acquired skill. I mean, any programming language is acquired skill. I mean, it's basically their computational ability, computational thinking. If they can learn C, they can learn C++. If they can learn C++, they can learn Java. So that's the second thing. Flexibility, they should have flexible enough. As one of the panel members in previous discussion said, that shift, I mean, first shift, second shift, third shift, they should be flexible enough working in shifts. I mean, we generally, ask trainee engineers to join, say, let's say Bangalore or any other location. They're very rigid to join Bangalore. I mean, people at my age, spend money to see different cities. I mean, engineers are getting paid and, have a, opportunity to learn new, explore new cities. That's also, I mean, they should understand. And, parents should, let them free, I mean, even their parents are, very protective nowadays. One more important thing that I want to, tell academia, I mean, during my young days, my parents used to tell a Sanskrit proverb called Vishi Vidya Tishi Dhanaha. When you are in your 20s, you should strive for knowledge. And when you are in your 30s, then you should strive for money. Nowadays, unfortunately, parents, while getting admission, ask for what is ROI. I mean, that's the sad part, sad reality. I mean, how much my student is going to get paid after he graduates. I mean, that's the harsh reality. I mean, students don't think, are they capable? I mean, a COEP student definitely will aspire for a 12 lakh package. He or she will not introspect whether he or she is really worth 12 lakh package. I mean, pehle salary mein iPhone lena hota hai bachcho ka nowadays. I mean, that's harsh reality. So, I mean, they should really understand that first few years are their foundational years, and they should build their knowledge base, and then, sky's the limit for earning money. I mean, that's my, 1 cent of advice.
Thank you so much. That's coming from one of the largest recruiters in the country. So you would appreciate as to where it's coming from and what experience are behind what's being communicated to you. Thank you.
So first I would like to share with everybody that India's best lies ahead. I mean, you see any report, McKinsey Global CEO says that this is the century of India. So let's not think of the short-term setbacks. I mean, if you go to large companies with unfortunate that they could not manage their growth projections well, so whether it is Alphabet, Amazon, more than 130,000 layoffs have happened. So one thing which I keep saying that industry and maybe as a company also, what we need to build is first is the sense of financial independence and lifelong passion for learning. Learning never stops. All of us, we keep learning. I'm a head HR also, how I get better myself, how to enable better change management. The opportunity is immense. I mean, I will just give an example of KPIT. I don't know how many of you are tracking it. KPIT share price has appreciated by 20 times in 2.5 years. So if you put 1 lakh, 20 lakh is there. And I'm saying it's a beginning. Why? Because we are a specialized software integrator. So what is happening, I think my friends already from automobile sector earlier and now also they can see, the car is not going to be a mechanical device. There are more codes in a car, high-end car, than in a space rocket. And there are technologies which are going to come at least in 4 to 6 years time, which is going to transform all this problem you see, the traffic congestion, the parking, everything is going to go away. The moment autonomous driving matures, you will see the cities which we have never seen and we cannot envisage in our lives. So coming to the point, I mean, growth-wise, so headcount also 3,500 to 10,000. We are going to add 4,000 employees every year. And what we look for is, I think my friend already covered that, no, because our requirement is niche and we are not getting that from industry. So all companies you see, they have, depending upon the appetite of the students, 3 months to 6 months training program. I think if industry academia can collaborate more, and Germany can give a very good example. I think the first speaker, he already mentioned that Israel, but Germany is more relevant for the internship. Take swimming as an example. Can you learn swimming by going to a classroom? Or can you learn swimming by speaking to a swimmer? You have to go to the pool and practice daily. So the practitioner approach has to be brought, and it has to be a collaboration between industry and academia both. And I think our best lies ahead. And all the students and everybody, I say that I wish I was 2 decades younger, because maybe in our lifetime, when we are old, we'll see India as a developed country. But I definitely see by 2050, we are going to be in the top 5, at least in GDP per capita also. Not the absolute size. I think GDP per capita is very much important. So if you have passion for learning, I think the sky is the limit.
Thank you. We'll take your opening remarks, then I'll have 1 or 2 quick questions.
Sure. Hi everyone, I'll just introduce myself first. I am Mani Shahir and I am part of the Infosys group. Now within Infosys, we would know that Infosys is more prominently famous for IT. But within Infosys, we also have a company called as Infosys BPM. Now BPM is a segment within the industry where we talk about the business process management. Now Rishikesh and Rajesh talked about the IT problems, but the things that I'm going to talk about is more in terms of BPM. Now in BPM, I actually come from an industry which is fairly young. It is hardly about 20, 25 years old. And that's the reason we say it's very young. So we have a lot of potential to grow. And that's the reason we are looking for candidates, or we are looking for people who can join this industry with a flexible mindset. Now, when I say flexible, now when we go for recruitment, in the last 2-3 months itself, we have been looking, when we interview candidates, people are asking, will I get a work from home? Now, work from home is a given. That's what people think. Now, work from home can be given, but absolutely, when we are looking at people who can work from home, we want people to come to office first. Build up the social capital. Build up. You can't be a CEO of the company by just working from home for your entire life. You have to come to the organization. You'll have to see. You'll have to work with people. You'll have to debate. You have to argue. You have to sit with people. You have to understand what the clients are looking at. And hence, we're also looking for people who have a global mindset. Because in my company or in my industry, we work right from Japan. The customers right from Japan to the far west. Hence, we also want a person who has a global mindset, who also is looking for a cultural adaptability, I would say. Because sitting in India, I speak to people who are in Japan, I speak to people who are in Middle East, I also speak to people who are in US. So we're looking for a global mindset, people who can acknowledge there are different cultures and also accept there are different cultures and then adapt accordingly. Now that's one point. Second, we also want people to be flexible enough. And the reason being the BPM industry that we are looking at, we just don't recruit IT people. We recruit anyone and everyone who is graduating, even if it's a commerce graduate, an arts graduate, a science graduate, even if someone has done his diploma, maybe in ITI or something else. We graduate everyone. And then we also have a training program, right from 6 weeks, going up to 6 months to about 8 months. So we train people. And we need flexibility. The reason being, when I say we have been working with global clients, that means if I'm working with a client who is in the Middle East, I only get an off on Fridays or on Thursdays, but I work on Saturday and Sunday. Similarly, if I'm working with a client who is in Australia or in the US, I get a Saturday, Sunday off. So I have to be flexible enough just to look at the culture and also at the society, not just with the mindset of I'll be only working Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So the flexibility and adaptability to global culture, I think that's what we are looking for.
Thank you so much. If I could take a couple of questions. As we mentioned, there is Infosys, KPIT and TCS here on the stage. Some of the biggest recruiters that we have in this part of the country for sure, and also globally, not just in India. A question with where the answer field is number, right? And you could always say pass. What are the number of people that you're recruiting this year, approximately, not asking commitment, in this region? Just number, approximate number, not asking your commitment, not holding you to it, just trying to get a sense of it. That's the idea.
No worries. So we'll to be honest, the numbers that we're looking, I just finished the call yesterday with my team. So in the running 12 months, last 12 months, from last November to October, we have recruited 15,000 people in India.
Okay.
And then we are also projecting, so that's an average of 3,000, 3,500 people on a quarterly basis. And we are projecting the same number because as an industry, we are also looking at attrition. Now, why people are also going out, we are also looking at people who are coming in. And also we're looking at global business, which are also sending businesses to India. So we are looking at similar numbers in the coming year as well.
Thank you. Any one of you would like to comment?
Yeah, so I briefly mentioned already.
That's okay, it's working.
Yeah, so 4,000 numbers we are looking for in the coming years, but KPIT has a long run ahead. I think our hiring is going to be, I believe, maybe in 5 years down the line, if I can say, we can hit even 5 digit also, 10,000.
Thank you. The idea of this is just to get a trend of it rather than the exact number from a specific company. Yeah.
Probably TCS would be hiring around close to 50,000 plus, 50.
You all heard that. Thank you. The other question here is, because the audience is academic institutions, right? And there's also industry, but largely academic institutions who are trying to understand what is it that they should do in the next 12 to 18 months. I mean, I know you gave the guidance and that's very helpful. You talked about flexibility, you talked about the adaptability, you know, these are very, very important things. But is there anything else that you would advise them which is a specific thing to do in the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, probably I would say allow computer science engineer students to go into mechanical lab or electrical lab or civil lab and vice versa. I mean, the walls between the departments you should remove. That's the only.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but it's so important, right, what you mentioned? It's supremely important when you look at, and many of them have looked at the Western universities, right? Where it's so easy to move from one department to another. It's so easy to do one degree in, let's say, IT and also take a few courses in what they would want. Sorry, please continue.
Yeah, so as far as I know, even Pune University now also don't allow 3 students from 3 different departments to submit a final year project. It has to be from the same department. I mean, IoT product cannot be a meaningful product if it is done by, say, let's say, computer science graduates or electronics graduates. It has to be interdisciplinary. So this is one thing which, you know, I would definitely want to
No, thank you. It's supremely important that the academic institutions are allowing flexibility for students to take, and trust me, not hundreds of them would do that anyway. Few dozens would do to begin with. Allow them to take courses in the other places. What was that thing in the 3-idiot dialogue? Gyan har jagah pe bat raha hai, jahan mile wahan pe samet lo. A good example I'll tell you. Some of you would have heard of Professor Pradeep Apte, who teaches here in Ferguson as well as Gokhale Institute. I have seen in many of his classes, right, students from all over Pune come and sit down. अच्छी बात है. तो जहाँ पे भी कोई अच्छा पढ़ा रहा है, तो please allow. Some of you might already be doing it. Allow them to sit in the other classes as well. Sorry. Any other point?
And as you cue in 3 idiots, let's produce ranchos rather than chaturs.
Thanks. Any quick input again?
I think there have been enough suggestions. One idea I will pick, the power of idea lies in execution, as we say. I think faculty development program is very much important. Whichever companies are hiring, if you can just know little bit interact with talent acquisition group and make sure that your faculty exactly gets to know what the trainees are going to go through, I think it will make a radical shift in the way the students are taught.
True. Thank you. Anything?
One suggestion, or rather one practice that we do is, when we go for college recruitments or we go for hiring, we just don't look for the academic grades, or we just don't look for the will that people are willing to do. But we are also looking for a mindset, I would say, because people should have a mindset of, say, ideas. Otherwise, we already have designed processes. People will just come in and follow the processes, and that's been happening for years. But we're also looking for a person who can produce ideas and also make sure the ideas have been implemented and will actually go from one corner to the other to make sure their ideas are implemented. So we're looking for that will as well.
That's equally important. Thank you for that. I think the whole objective of this session, as I mentioned, through the day today, there will be 20 industry leaders from whom you would hear what is it that you are expecting academic institution to do to increase the employability of students getting out of their portal. Trust me, the whole day is only about that one question. Right? That's what we are focused on, because that's the most important question. Through the day today, in 6-7 panels, we have about 20 industry leaders, as I mentioned. And there are enough breaks. During the breaks, you would be able to interact with each other. There are 2 interesting ideas emerging from the auto panel as well as the IT-ITS panel communicated about the faculty development. By end of the day today, we'll also talk about how do we give it a shape. As you mentioned, the power of ideas in execution, right? And how do we execute this activity of actually taking some of the faculty and getting them training. But do not wait for us to announce in the evening. Feel free to do the interactions during the break time so that more and more of you understand how do we forge it. We are absolutely happy. It's like the advertisement. When the advertisement appears, you don't exactly know when the individual is going to go and buy the product or service. The same way, we wouldn't know when exactly the connects happen, but we'll be very happy knowing well that some connects did happen. Right? I'm just going to say thank you to each one of you. If there is any one-liner that you must say, now is the time, and then we'll conclude the session.
Yeah, I will like to add one thing. I will just go to human resource, which I belong. I think we started MS Office test 4 years back when we realized that the trainees are taking even months to learn the basics. 90% of the students fail in MS Excel. So I think already in some panel they said that learn fundamentals. I think it is very much important that whether learn the basics first, whether it's a programming or logical thinking or even the written or speaking communication. I think the basics are missing in a staggering number. It's not minor, it's staggering. And I keep going to institutes and talking the same thing, and I am not seeing the meaningful shift. So that is why this idea of faculty development came. Maybe if they get exposed, then maybe things will change.
I have one question, Rishikesh. Maybe I'll ask that question if that's okay. And depending on which one of you want to answer, or if you don't want to answer, that's fine. I'll read the question as is. And I'll request those who are asking question, if you can also put your name and where it comes from, so that it gives a backdrop as to where the question is coming from. But I'll read the question. What are your thoughts on IT professional trying other gigs on the side? And of course, other gigs on the side, of course, in bracket, it's moonlighting. So what are your thoughts? I thought the answer would be very clear, but nevertheless, we'll hear it from you.
Yeah, I won't comment on this.
Okay. And of course, the answer from, if you ask any one of them, and I'm not attributing my answer to them, but shouldn't, that would be as simple an answer as you could get it from any IT company. The other question that I have is, I think maybe I would answer it myself. What is the best way for students, institution to approach their industry, right? I think it's pretty simple. You would have either the student committee or the institute committee, the faculty committee. They should step out and meet the industries as often as you can. And do not be frustrated in the cold calling not giving the result that you would want. Because that's real life. Right? That's how it would happen. So I think the only answer to that is try, and try. There are many academic institutions who are successful in this. So it's not as if it's a theory. Many are successful. You would also be successful sooner than later. Is there anything else that any one of you would like to add before we conclude?
No, on moonlighting piece, I will say, and everybody wants to earn more, and it's very natural. You see, the mega trend, I keep sharing with my friends. In 1980s, if you see, the salary of CEO was 30 times the lowest drawn employee. Right now, it's 300 times to 3,000 times. At the top level, if you reach in 1 year what you are going to earn, what you have taken not earned in 10 years in the beginning of your career. Make yourself that good so that you reach the top. Now, all this moonlighting and gig, you will not be needing any time.
Thank you.
Sorry, my quick 2 cents on moonlighting.
Just sorry to interrupt. I forgot this today. Those who have attended any program at Chamber would know. तालियां बजाने से कभी किसी को नुकसान नहीं हुआ. जब जिसको बजाने का मन करे वो बजावे. किसी का नुकसान नहीं होता है. फायदा ही होता है अगर होता होगा तो कुछ. हाँ.
Quick 2 cents on moonlighting. Moonlighting can be done, but obviously not in IT. The reason being, we have client confidentiality, and this is based on trust. Client is giving us business based on trust. We can do moonlighting. Maybe in the other industries, if it is allowed, if we have our private businesses, our own businesses, we can do 2 businesses. Yeah. It is allowed in outside India. If you look at the industry, if you look at people work on petrol pumps, they work in coffee shops, they also work in the IT firms. So it depends. But in the IT industry, it's based on the client confidentiality.
Thank you so much. Once again, we all experienced what 20 minutes can deliver, right? That's PowerPoint's 20 minutes. Thank you so much for sharing all these thoughts. Many, many thanks. I'll encourage all of you to please make use of the break time to interact with each other. I'll hand it over to my colleague, Anaga.
Thank you. May I now request Mr. Bharat Agarwal, Chairman, MCCI Higher Education Committee, to felicitate the guests.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Many, many thanks.
We now move on to the engineering sector. I invite on stage Dr. Nidhi Dhanju, Praj Industries Limited, Mr. Salil Bhide, Bharat Forge Limited, and Mr. Upendra Chaturvedi from Advik High Tech Private Limited.
Come. अच्छा ठीक है, थैंक यू. हाँ ते बरं पडलं. ठीक आहे, थँक्यू. चालू आहे आता? ठीक आहे, थँक्यू. Hi Nidhi, what's up? Good to see you. Good. Hello, is this working? So this would be the last session before the break. There will be lunch break and also networking in a sense. I'll give another 30 seconds for my colleague to sort out, make sure that we'll reduce the noise level so that we can get to the panel discussion. So we'll get settled. Fortunately, we have multiple rooms in the chamber so that most interactions while a panel discussion is going on, we can do in the meeting rooms. All right, thank you. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining. As we mentioned, the day is focused on that one question, and I'll be saying it another 6-7 times, this line. The day is questioned on, the day is focused on one question, and that is, what is it that the academic institutions should do, can do, to increase employability of the students graduating from their portals? That's the simple question. That's what we are focused on, right? You could share example, you could share your viewpoints, and the time frame is a bit more of immediate to medium term, definitely not long term. Right? Because there are enough articles, lectures, inspiration sessions on the macro picture of India's growth and where India stands and rest of it. We'll get down to just the brass tacks of it. We started with auto industry because that's a major industry in Pune. Then we went to IT industry because that's recruiting a number of people. But we have very, very important engineering industry in Pune. The importance is highlighted by the following fact. Some of you might have heard it earlier. Pune is one of the top 5 countries, top 5 districts in the entire country when it comes to merchandise export. Pune is #1 district in the entire country when it comes to engineering goods exports. The reason is these companies and companies like these that are helping this growth. I'll stop there and you know the questions, so I'll go to each one of you to kind of take your 3 minutes and share your thoughts on that. Thank you so much. And those who have questions, please share those questions on the WhatsApp. If you can, give your name and where you come from so that it's easier to ask the question. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Nidhi. I come from Praj Industries, biotechnology, ethanol. That's what we are mostly known for. So first of all, I lose a lot of my students to the panel before, which is IT. Nobody wants to work in the shop floor, grease their hands. And that's always been something that, we are constantly worried about, because if I look at my exit interviews, most of it goes into they want the AC air conditioner rooms. So that's one aspect. But having said that, the pool is interesting because we work on some very core design engineering problems. you know. We erect big structures, so it gives a sense of doing something which is very visible. So it's a very interesting engineering field, the problems that we try to solve. Coming back to students, I think today the paradigm shift is happening so fast, right? A couple of things that I see that's happening, and I think a lot has been said and done, but I'll just give you some examples. Relevance to the industry, and how do you build that into your industry, curriculum? I think that's foremost. I'll just give you an example from my own this thing. When we hire management trainees in HR, can they look at appointment clauses and study them and what they mean? Is that something which is taught in the academia? Can they prepare job descriptions which are crisp and to the point? You know, can they look at the entire gamut from entry to exit and study that, analyze that, and actually look at not just putting an Excel sheet, but insights that are derived from that? I think those are the kinds of things that we need to focus on, right? So one is the whole aspect around skills which are very relevant to the industry and how we are looking at it. The second aspect, I think, which is equally important, is learning agility. And a lot has been told and talked about it. But it's paramount because we are looking at workforce transformation 5.0, 6.0, 7.0. You know, just day before yesterday, someone came to me, my really good engineer, and he said, "Madam, mujhe jana hai." I said, "Kahan jana hai? Kyun jana hai?" "I want to be a baker." A baker. You know, from engineering, I've always had a passion for baking. Now I want to do baking. So gig economy is going to be the future. It's already here. We are already talking about it. How are my HR professionals, how the industry, how is the academia prepared to handle the workforce which is going to be more shorter term, more Insta-led generation, right? This is an Insta-led generation. Everything is like this, right? Nobody has, the spans are only 4 or 5 minutes. Nothing more than that is okay with you. Even the YouTube video has to be only 4 to 5 minutes. Otherwise, you just forward it, right? So how do you engage with this generation? You know, how do you look at a workforce which is going to be gig, which is going to be working on different assignments, all together parallel, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen to core engineering. It's going to disrupt each and every sector. So I'll just pause here, just a couple of things around relevance to the industry. And of course, there are various ways in which we can engage. And how do you engage in a learning agility where you become constantly relevant and learning on the go? I'll pause there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nidhi.
My name is Salil Bide. I represent Bharat Forge. We are predominantly an auto component manufacturer. Okay, so what was said in the first panel discussion about automobiles is very, very relevant because we also as an organization are changing. Our product portfolio is changing with the EV coming in. So we have forayed into EV market also. We acquired a company, stake in a company called Torque Motors, which are going to launch EV two-wheelers. They are already in the market. And some foray in defense. But our core business still lies into the auto component sector. And the relevant question is of today's discussion is what can industry do, what can academia do for relevance of their students into industry, what is the industry expectation from academia. So basically I will take it into two parts. What is the industry expectation from academia first, and what are the industry expectation from students. So first and foremost, I like this idea about faculty development. That was also one of the points which I had noted down. So apart from that, I would focus on the engineering students because that's the chunk of the pool that we usually hire from campuses. Make internship or live projects mandatory after first year, between the first year, second year break, between the second year, third year break. Third year, fourth year, most people do it, but make it mandatory. Maybe there can be a grading system or something of that kind. So make it mandatory so students will take it more seriously. Of course, for that, you will have to build your partnership with industries also because industries should also give the students serious projects. Most of the times they do not. So the partnership with industry also needs to be there in that. The second thing is our entire teaching system is to produce individuals. We lack producing teams. And once you get into an industry, you have to work in a team. So please have some courses over there which will force students to work as a team. It probably happens in the last year of engineering when you are doing a project and 4 people are doing a project, but if you can start that right in the first year itself, that can help students to see a different perspective also, because once they come into an organization, the individual work of course is there, but for the entire company success, they have to succeed as a team also. And last but not the least, what academic institutions can work on is giving them more Excel knowledge, because as somebody said in my previous panel discussion, students are really very pathetic in the Excel part of it, and a lot of things still happen on Excel in industries. And second is articulation in English. I am not saying communication skills, because these guys can communicate very fluently in their mother tongue and Hindi, but when it comes to articulation in English, people basically from say B towns, C towns, they lack in this, and there is a real talent over there also. Giving example of my own organization, we recruit a lot of campus guys, engineers, but we, for particular departments, we recruit from particular colleges. As Nidhi also said, nobody wants to work for a shop floor. So if I have a shop floor job, there is no point for me going into a COEP or in fact even a MIT or a VIT, because nobody from there will come to me. So for those kinds of jobs, I'll have to go to Solapur, Kolhapur and niche interior towns, and there also 50% of the people will not want to work on the shop floor. So I'll have to really look at people who really want to work on the shop floor. So we recruit at 2 different levels. One for the shop floor jobs, we recruit at colleges which are far from the mainstream. And of course, once they come into the organization, we give them a lot of input, so their training program is different. And for design and all other kind of jobs, we look for tier 1, tier 2 kind of colleges like COEP, VIT and this thing. Nobody from IIT comes to Bharat Forge, by the way.
Thank you.
And from the students, the expectation from industry for the students is they have to be keen learner. What Nidhi said, learning agility has to be there right from day one. As somebody said, I think it was Jack Welch, that when you learn and keep yourself upgraded, you can guarantee yourself a lifetime of employability. Nobody can guarantee you a lifetime employment, but if you work on yourself, your employability is guaranteed. So that's what we look for students when we recruit, that what is their will level to keep on learning.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Lil.
that's it.
Very, very helpful. Many thanks.
So, well, my name is Upen, and I work in a company called Advic. This company is basically started with the automotive component manufacturing, but no longer limited to the automotive. Now we are into, I mean, it's a hybrid sector, so-called. So it's a more of automotive, non-automotive, alternate fuels, and, FMCG also, certain segments which we have initiated. So the topic itself is quite interesting. And way back more than 1.5 decades, when I passed out MBA, from there I'm hearing this topic maybe more than 1,000 times. So topic itself says, somewhere there is a scope of improvement. And it's not like that, this scope of improvement will get fixed here. It is a continuous and continual process. So why the need is emerging, there is a particular element called consumerism and socio-economic environment in which we are living. Why industry is expecting from academia? Because of the consumerism. The expectation of consumers are changing so drastically and rapidly. Strategies which companies were making for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years are having zero shelf life. There is no strategy having any shelf life. It can be changed overnight. A lot of disruptions are happening, right? We all are witnessing the disruption is happening in the automotive sector. Disruption is happening in certainly IT sectors. And companies like Google, companies like Twitter, Meta are enfueling those disruptions. Whereas coming to manufacturing sector, especially automotive, so-called mobility solution provider, it's not limiting to automotive now. It's a more of mobility solution provider.
right? Where you require hardware, software, you require somewhere some part of the networking also. So that way, the canvas of overall industry is changing so rapidly, resulting into requirement of the talent in a different manner. And industry is not having that much patience, which can invest a lot in terms of developing the people after hiring from the institute. Reason being that the world is shifting so rapidly. If you're not able to cater or you're not able to tap the need on a prompt basis, you are out. And to tap those opportunities, you certainly require people who get associated and work as plug and play. So, academia, students, and industry all needs to be synchronized with each other with the same pace. Then only I think, the gap which is being felt and discussed in multiple forums, in fact, in this forum also we are talking same, may get addressed and may get abridged. So, as I say, see, industry expectations is more of future forward. Right? And irrespective of autonomy, what I heard, academics or academia is getting a lot of autonomy in terms of, changing their course curriculum. But are they really doing those changes in the course curriculum the way industry paradigm is getting shifted? No. And that's the reason, the gap is quite evident. So, as somebody said, very correctly, how many teachers knows the industry? Right? Similarly, if people who are imparting the education, they themselves are not so acquainted of the practicalities of those concepts, what you are teaching, what you are imparting, is not going to be helpful. So far, in my career, I have, in fact, interviewed more than lakhs people, maybe hired somewhere, more than lakhs people and hired also, significant number. The fundamental question, Henry's 14 principle, students are not able to utter. Hawthorne experiment, I'm talking about history only, which you learned in your academics. Hawthorne principle, nobody knows. And if they're knowing, then what is the significance of those experimentation? Why illumination effect was important for the productivity? So, we are talking about skills. Sorry, I'm taking a little longer. We are talking about skills. Skill doesn't limit it to only, the specific area. When you define the skill, it has its own element like human skill, technical skill, conceptual skills. All those skills constitute the real skills. And then knowledge, skill, and attitude creates the competencies. So academia needs to focus holistic development, which may help the organizations in terms of attaining their objective with respect to the paradigm which is shifting in terms of the consumerism. Sure. And certainly, academia needs to also understand their value discipline. What value discipline you are driving? Like industries are having 3 value disciplines. Those value disciplines are operation excellence, product leadership, or customer intimacy. Academia need to understand which value discipline you are driving. And if you are clear with your value discipline, then I think you are able to bridge the gap. And remember, all value disciplines are equally important, but whether it's an industry, whether it's academia, you can't drive more than one. That requires different bandwidths. So these are the elements.
Thank you, Upendra. Thank you so much. Many thanks. I think. Thank you. So a couple of questions I have. The first one is, and this is an optional question. Even if nobody answers, that's fine. I'll move to the next question. The optional question is this. Is there any program any one of your organization has or would have in near future that would encourage not just students, but faculties of different institutions to come, whether for a day visit or for a little longer one, to engage with them? That's an optional question, as I said.
Yes, we do have one which is in the design phase with one of the premium-most institute, and we are going to institutionalize something called professors of practice. So it's going to be an exchange. So there are going to be practitioners who are going to go in the institute, and there are going to be professors from there who are going to be engaged in the innovation center for few months to, maybe a gestation of a longer period. And I think, the design is the core, because putting this together in a hassle, it's still taking us a long time to put everything together. So don't be in a hassle to do it. Take your time, make sure that you have lots of dialogues, you have the design in place, and I'll be happy to share results. We are still at the fag end of the design of the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nidhi. If there is anyone else who has any other.
Yeah, we at Bharat Forge, we do have such a program, but currently it is not open for all academic institutes. To elaborate further, we have tie-ups with COEP, IIT Bombay, University of Deakin, Australia, DIAT, and also Warwick and BITS Pilani, but these are for all educational courses. So BITS Pilani runs an in-campus engineering course for our BSc graduates. We have tie-ups with IITs, Deakin University and all these things for MTechs in material science and metallurgy. So with these institutes, we have frequent interaction of our own people with their faculty also, and their faculty also comes into our organization once in a while. And certainly on 11th of May, which is an Engineers Day or Technology Day as we celebrate this thing. But currently it is limited to institutes where we have a tie-up. It is not a more.
I think something that we could take forward from this, right, as Salil mentioned, if an IIT or a Warwick Institute or BITS Pilani, any of these is engaging with somebody like Bharat Forge and trying to create an in-campus course, the question that I have, and I'm not expecting answer, this question for you to reflect on, some of the academic institutions that are represented here, which of such companies, and it need not be the top 10 companies, because top 10 companies might be taken by the top 10 institutions. One approach is to become top 10 institution, and that's a brilliant thing to do. Everybody must compete. And when you're not in top 10, and that's all right, maybe I haven't been top 10 all my life, you move from 10 to 20, figure out the companies in 10 to 20 rank. Have you interacted with any of those companies and told them, I could actually create an in-house course for you? It's a lot easier for the two worlds, for an industry to say, what you're producing is not good enough, or for academic institution to say, unless you give me the exposure, what more can I do? We cannot be stuck at those two lines forever. And hence, this question for those among you who are represented academia to reflect over through the day and thereafter also. Any other comment before I move to the next question?
So in our setup, we are having not exactly, the faculty development program, but at the same time, we are having vocational trainees who are catering my 60% of need frontline supervisors or the shop floor needs.
Sure.
In future, yes, we are going to, we are having such plans where we can, shake hands with the institutes, academia, where we are lacking, in terms of the assessment because of the paucity of time. And preparing these people in a more better and refined manner, academia can help us, while taking the inference from our need, company need.
Thank you so much. So you would be, during the break, which will start in 8 minutes, you would be able to interact with some of the speakers who are on this panel as well as earlier panels. There is a question that I have, Nidhi, and more if you'd like to address. A couple of questions, I'll mention those. One, how to make our HR students specifically employable must be from one of the academic institutions that has HR course. And there's also another question, which is a very generic question. What are some of the key skills you look for in freshers? How can students train for them? Maybe this question is already answered by each one of them, but especially the HR manager one.
Sure. So one of the advice I have to HR students is, students come to me and I ask them, why do you want to join HR? And the answer I get is because I love people. If you love people, I'm sorry to say HR is not the place for you. Because you will realize very soon when you enter HR, you have to create not love with business, you have to create respect with business. And thank you. And that comes when you look at the personal aspiration of the employees and marry them with organization context. You know, it's a very, very important thing for us to look at. Of course, I can talk about the skills, etc. Because, madam, mujhe baker banna hai from core engineering. You know, I'm still at the end of the day doing business, right? And you know, a lot of HR professionals fall in love with their employees and try to get into that aspect. But at the end of the day, I'm still running a business. And how do I make it a win-win for the employee as well as the employer is the job of HR or the platform for HR. So always look at it from that context, because there will be a lot of no's, yeses, okay that you will hear. So just look at it from that perspective, number one. Number two, analytics has become huge in HR. You know, like in every field, there is a lot of numbers crunching that is happening today in terms of attrition, exit data, exit this data, you know, pie data. And CHRO's salaries are almost equivalent to HR analytics salaries today. So look, you know, fall in love with analytics. A lot of my HR people said, Madam, hame P&L padna nahi aata. We don't like numbers. We don't like to work with Excels. You have to fall in love with that thing. You have to. So please start falling in love with all those aspects, because it's going to become your life very soon, whether you like it or not in HR. So
Wow.
I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is the specific input that you get when you hear people with the backdrop and experiences. Dr. Nidhi is a PhD, apart from having done her graduation masters, and have been working for long in multiple great institutions now at Praj, right? And the same goes for Salil as well as Upendra. I think I'm just going to ask three of you if there is, I still have another 4 minutes, so if there is anything that you must say in a minute that I haven't been able to ask a question on. Mike, sir.
Yeah, and this is something which Prashant, you said in the earlier group discussion at the end of it. What can institutions do to get into touch with industries? You said about leveraging their student council, leveraging their faculties. I would say leveraging their alumni network. Because your alumni will speak for you. Once your alumni has spent 4 years, whatever might be his experience, he has some kind of soft corner for you. So please leverage that, and there is a lot to be done on this alumni network and association, but if you be in touch with your alumni, you will get entry into industries. So that's my...
Thank you. Hey, sorry, just one quick one. There are the timeline. If there is no noise, we'll finish in the next 5 minutes. If there is noise, we'll take possibly about 10 minutes.
All right, so coming to the question, you know, what I see in a fresher, especially in HR, so there are 3 elements only I see, you know, when hire HR folks in the function. One is clear-headed, that I'm going to work in the HR function itself, not like I'm going to be a baker over a period of time, correct? So we don't have enough room for, you know, your hobby classes. So if you're joining us, you should be very clear-headed that you are coming to join the HR function or any function. Second is conceptually you should be strong. We are not asking that, you know, you have implemented Law Manager 67 or not, but at least you should know what exactly Law Manager 67 is when it comes to competency framework. So those conceptual knowledge is equally important. And third is passion, right? Passion to do, passion to win. It's not like that, you know, 1 step, 2 step, 3rd step, and back step. You need to take continuous step unless and until you're not, you know, achieving the target what you have set for yourself. So these are the 3 elements, you know, which I look for when I hire anybody as a fresher in any function.
Thank you so much. This is wonderful panel, wonderful session with very specific responses to specific questions. Thank you so much. Once again, another example of what we produced in about 18-20 minutes. Thank you so much for coming and attending this session. Before Anagha takes this forward, just one quick question if I may ask. There are a bunch of you who asked questions here through the WhatsApp. I'm not attributing any question to anyone. So if you could just raise hands whose question got answered. The people who asked questions whose question got answered. All right. So huge round of applause for them also, because they equally participated into the whole thing. Thank you so much. Feel free to participate through the day interact during the break, ask the question. The session is for those in the audience. We, the panelists are meant to put you at the center and communicate to you. So please do participate for that. Otherwise, AC तो चल ही रहा है, पीछे थोड़ा dark रहेगा, आगे थोड़ा dark रहेगा, तो नींद तो अच्छी आ ही जाएगी. But those who would want to participate, most welcome to do that. Anaga, over to you.
Thank you. May I now request Dr. Shikha Jain, Director IMTR, to felicitate the guests, please.
Stand for a photograph. That's what James is. Please, आप भी रुकिएगा. Thank you so much. Many thanks. Thank you, Kendra.
A big thank you to all the panelists. Before we break for lunch now, a small announcement. Outside in the lobby, there is a soft board kept for you to give your suggestions. So please feel free to give your queries, comments, suggestions about the program so far. Thank you. We now break for lunch and we should be back here in an hour. Thank you so much.